Hello, Elias here. Haven't done a video in a while. How are you, everybody? There's been certain topics as of late, and I guess I wanted to touch on some of them because they are serious topics. It's about our tendency as modern-day Christians, so-called, to make everything in the Bible futuristic. Make everything we're reading, especially in the New Testament, futuristic. As if Paul and the apostles were talking directly to us. And, you know, upon closer examination, you see that that's just not the case. They were not speaking directly to us. And everything they told them in their time does not apply exactly in the same way in our time. Because you have to remember what Jesus warned them before he went on the cross in Matthew 24. He warned them that this age was coming to, their age that they were living in was coming to an end. He warned them that there was going to be a wrath coming on that age, and that it was going to be put on that generation because of the way the Pharisees treated Christ, because of the way they rejected him. Any kind of wrath that's deserved, or anyone thinks that's deserved, is just going to fall on that generation and on that temple in that age, and that generation will not pass away until they see these things occurred. That's what he said, folks. It's irrefutable. There's nothing to be arguing about. You can deny it until the cows come home, but it's irrefutable. He's speaking of them. He's talking about what's going to happen in Judea to the Jews, to their temple, to their whole system. The whole stinking thing was coming down, in other words. But even after the cross, the two covenants were side by side, weren't they? For approximately 37 years. And all the way up to 70 AD. The two covenants were side by side. So imagine you're living in that age, and you're a Jew. You got to make a choice. Are you going to hang on to the old, or embrace the new? Are you going to embrace Christ, or are you going to hang on to Moses? Your choice will determine which side you're going to fall on by AD 70. You cannot be on the Pharisee side in AD 70, or you got a problem. Why do you think Paul was warning them so vehemently about not going back to the law? Because this was serious business. Why do you think Paul and the apostles kept on talking about the end times, the end times, the end? It was their end times, folks. Why have we made this futuristic when it was talking about them? That was their end times. The age was ending. And it did end. And the wrath of God did fall upon that generation. Everything Christ said was going to happen in Matthew 24 happened exactly like that. And, you know, most Christians don't even know the history. They don't even bother to go look into the history of the terrible events that occurred in that age. And then they would maybe begin to get an idea that it was exactly as Christ said, that no greater tribulation will be seen as was seen then. Most of you Christians have no idea what occurred there at that age. Yeah, you heard that the Romans came in, yeah, they destroyed the temple, yada yada, you yawn like it was no big deal. It was the end of the world for them. Don't you understand that? The Lord was making his statement, and he made it big time. He poured out his judgment and his wrath on that old system, and it all came crashing down. Now what about us, the Gentiles? What does refer to us? What refers to us is the Gentiles being grafted in to the salvation. So when you see Paul and the apostles talking to the Jews in their age, saying, you have to believe the gospel, right, in order to be saved. That was literally true. If they did not believe the gospel, if they stuck to that law, they will not be saved from the wrath to come. They won't. They're going to perish in it. Right? That was just literally true. But you, in your day, you are to you believe the gospel because you are saved. Past tense, not future tense. This is what happens when you make everything future tense. Your thinking becomes totally futuristic. And what Christ meant for you as past tense, you always make future tense. Then you're not believing the gospel. You're not believing the cross was powerful enough. You're not believing you're really forgiven. You're not believing that you're sanctified. You think you got to do it yourself. Something more has to be done other than the cross in order to get the job done. So you start thinking it's about your conduct, and this is what futuristic thinking does. It messes you up completely. Just totally messes you up. And I remember even many churches were teaching, this is my own personal experience, many churches were teaching that, well, you know, everybody in their generation thought that it was the end and that Christ would come back in their generation. And even Paul and the apostles, look, they're saying it here. They were even wrong. And so they just like, well, they were just all wrong. But what, we're right in our generation? Christ is coming back in our generation? Would you believe that every single generation have been running around like idiots, expecting Christ to return, and it never happened? No, Paul was not wrong. The apostles of their age were not wrong. It was the end. Sorry folks, but you've misunderstood completely what the end times, that phrase itself, meant. You misunderstood completely. Because automatically you made assumptions, and you made it futuristic, and you made it about the end of the world and Christ judging the world. And why would he judge the world, folks? He died for it. He wasn't judging the world. He was judging the system, the old covenant. And that's done with, done away, over and out. There's no more wrath to be spoken of. I don't understand how most Christians would prefer to believe that God is preparing a wrath. How are you going to even move forward with him in any kind of real faith when you're thinking that? You're not going to move forward in any kind of real faith because you're not going to be believing the cross. That's just a fact. You're only partially believing the cross. I'm partially saved. I'm not really fully saved. I'm partially saved. Is that true, folks? Come on, let's get real with ourselves. It would do a lot of you good to actually go back into the history, and see what happened in that age. You might be shocked. Okay? And you would do a lot of you good to reread the whole thing, the whole New Testament, and put it in its time and place. They're walking around talking to real people in front of their face in their time and age. And everything they're saying and all this talk about Gehenna and and Hades and all the parables, those people understood in their time. And when Jesus was telling them, when that day comes, don't go to your rooftops, don't go... What do we know about stuff like that? They understood what Jesus meant in their time. That has some kind of significance for them. It has no significance for us. Unless you believe the Lord is warning you, hey, my wrath is coming, don't go up on top of your house. Ridiculous, folks. There's a reason Jesus was talking like that, and he even said himself in Matthew 24. He mentioned Judea. He mentioned this generation. He clearly said it, and yet, lo and behold, we've formulated a futuristic end-time eschatology. And when did that start really come into force? Just a few hundred years. The apostles certainly weren't teaching it. So men have done this. Religion has done this. And yeah, you could give the easy answer and said it came out of the Catholic Church, which is true, but it's more than the Catholic Church. It's the mentality of man in general. They just don't believe the gospel. I'm telling you, folks, they just didn't believe. And so they had to add to or take away from it. And there were other factors. They wanted to control the people and manipulate them with fear, through fear. Now, that's a good way, isn't it? Yeah, let's get Dante in there with his vision of hell and his levels of hell. Yeah, come on. People, this is serious. You can burn in hell for eternity. And, folks, you know, you got to have the fortitude and the courage to question what you have been believing all these years in religion. You are permitted, you are encouraged by the Holy Spirit to question everything. To not just accept these traditional teachings that you've been hearing in church and not do anything about it. And not even investigate it for yourself. That's a terrible mistake. Don't sit there and let them feed you this baloney. Because your pastor's name is not Oscar Mayer. So go find out for yourself, folks. For real. There'll be more to come in the future. May the Lord keep and bless you all. And remember, folks, this is a serious topic that has a lot of parts to it, and it's not just about doctrinal differences. It's about the very fundamental way we perceive Christ and how we're relating to the gospel. We got to get this right, folks. We have to. Okay, folks, God bless.